Hello and welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. We have XFL to talk about. We have random NFL rules to talk about. We have baseball to talk about. We have a heck of a show. But before we get into any of that, as always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me. A man who, after 33 years, still knows how to embarrass me in public situations, my dad, Tim.
That's just part of the joy of being a dad.
I'm going to share this story from my perspective.
Go ahead.
And then you can share this story for whatever the hell you were thinking in this situation. I go to the gym 6 days a week. No secret. I really like working out. It's my meditation time for an hour every day, 6 days a week. I like it. When you go to the gym, sometimes you get smelly. We're in a situation where we have family over at my house and a good amount of people of friends because we had a nice little cookout, right?
And well, it was cook out, eat in because it's like 30 degrees out here.
I grilled outside. Everybody hung out inside. Either way, there was like 10 or 15 people in this house. I had my gym bag next to the washing machine because I was doing laundry. I had already taken stuff out of the gym bag, put it in the washing machine, and for whatever reason, this man decides to go into the laundry room, which is fine. I don't care. Free roam of the house. Looks at my gym bag, smells it after he unzips it and goes, "Man, this is rank." I was like, "What?" And everybody stops and looks and goes, "Dude, your gym bag smells. You stink." Why? So why? I don't get embarrassed easily. I really don't. And normally it wouldn't embarrass me. But it was in the random moment where I don't have time to process this. I don't know what's coming. And you just decide to open my gym bag, smell it, and make a comment.
I was actually being a really good dad, and I was tossing a load of your clothes in. I thought, oh, his gym clothes are probably here and need to be washed because there's a bag. I opened it up, and it was like that little green cloud that just went off in the entire house. And it's like, it was awful.
You'll be happy to know, because of that moment, I have car air fresheners now in my gym bag after washing it.
Everybody that was here will appreciate that. It was awful.
Could have come up to me and said, "Hey, just wanted to let you know, and thank you for changing the laundry. I appreciate it." Didn't have to do that. Now wish you wouldn't have done that. You could have come up to me and said, "Hey, I was switching clothes. I smelled your gym bag. You may want to spray it down. It's getting pretty rank." Nope. Announces it in front of a group of people. People there, by the way, he didn't know. He had just met them that day.
They all thanked me after that. We were going to say something, but
nobody knew what to do. I started laughing because I didn't know what else to do.
What else can you do?
Dude, it
smelled like a chimp cage that hadn't been cleaned up.
To the point where my oldest son, looked at me and says, "Daddy, you'll never do that to me in front of a group of people, will you?" I said, "No, I'm not that mean."
Oh, you will too do it. It won't even be a second thought. I didn't mean to do it with everybody there. It was like an explosion of
just, dude, your gym bag stinks.
I said it was rank.
You did.
It was bad.
Hopefully your dads don't do that to you after 33 years, but hey,
every
if they
dad does that.
Let me know in the comments below, and while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy the show as much as we enjoy making it. Before we get into other things I want to talk about here, I have something for you.
Okay.
Because it is a very special occasion today. Are you ready?
Yeah. Uh-oh!
It is our 100th episode officially, and we are officially at 5,000 subscribers, so it is a celebration among celebrations.
Okay, now I'm going to have crap in my hair the whole show.
Throw that over there. I don't need that anymore.
Thanks. Yes, thank you everyone for doing that. I apologize for the explosion that just took place.
Listen, did you think when we started this show we'd ever get to 100 episodes?
No, I didn't. I wasn't sure, but you're always hopeful, but I didn't think so. And I certainly, the 5,000 mark after 13 months, that is amazing. And thank you to everybody who subscribed.
Definitely thank you to everybody.
As somebody said, yeah, you've got a very small but deeply disturbed audience.
I mean, we are very small and deeply disturbed people, so there is that. But you know what? I got my doctor telling me I'm actually 6 feet again, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, in your dreams, Romeo.
I am 6 feet and a quarter inch, and I'm going to hold on to 6 feet for as long as I can, okay?
Yeah, because look what happens after a while.
I'm going to shrink
You
at
get
some
to
point,
me.
and I'm not going to be happy about it.
By the way, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Getting back to sports talk with Dad.
Yes.
Sports. Did you watch the NBA All-Star game at all?
No.
How many people do you think bet that Giannis would score the first point, then come out of the game?
I didn't think he was going to play.
I didn't either. Nobody did.
I really didn't. It's an all-star game. Listen, all-star games are boring. They really are. Even baseball all-star game is boring at this point. I mean, the dunk contest at this point was won by somebody who played in 2 games in the NFL. I mean, that's just a joke.
The NFL, the dunk
or the
contest?
NBA, I'm sorry. 2 games in the NBA all season long. Nobody knew who he was. It's a joke. Like, if you're not actually an all-star, you shouldn't compete in all-star competitions. I mean, nobody wants to see that. You're not an all-star.
True. Yeah,
why are we watching somebody do something that didn't earn the right to be there in the first place?
LeBrons, the Giannis's. And it's not like the home run derby, which can screw up your swing.
Still bugs me that there's people there that aren't all-stars.
True.
Now, if you follow my idea of what we should do with baseball, which we're going to get into a little bit later here, you could have people in there that you actually want to see hit home runs.
But the question was, do you think anybody bet on that?
Oh, guaranteed.
Because I bet you they won some money on BetUS.
I guarantee they had. That's an amazing segue.
Thank you.
You've partially made up for the
but you're going to go on without a commercial for a sponsor, so I thought I better stop you.
But you're still not there yet. I'm still mad at you. I bet you a lot of people bet on BetUS, and hey, you can too. BetUS, at this point, we have extended this offer for another week because, again, of all of you here, BetUS, you get 125% of your first deposit by signing up, which means you get to win before you even win, and there is nothing better than that. You can bet on anything. You can bet on UFC, NBA, baseball, football, even XFL, which we are going to get into on this show today, but you, again, win without even having to play. You win before you even get the chance to win. Sign up by following the link you see in the description below and on the link you see on the screen, and you can get 125% back of your first deposit just by following the link with Sports Talk with Dad and being a part of the Sports Talk with Dad family. One thing.
I won, by the way.
Which one?
Sunday.
Did you?
You know how much I don't follow NASCAR?
Yeah.
I was watching something random and it was just on there. I put money on Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Nice.
Came 3-1. I would not bet XFL, but you can bet on XFL.
I tell you what I never would have bet on, and that's Rex Ryan being in the NFL again. And I think we are very close to that happening.
Ricky Stenhouse. But you're right.
It's Ricky Stenhouse, if you want to say it correctly.
Okay,
but
fine. All right, fine. I was shocked when I saw the news. I thought he's got a sweet gig. There's no way, unless it's a head coaching gig, he's coming back.
Even for a head coaching gig, I thought he'd never come back. I don't think he ever wants to be a head coach in the NFL again. I don't. I do think he wants a Super Bowl ring, and there is proof by that right here because he is walking into a situation where this team could take off. They should have been better last year.
It's all going to be dependent on the quarterback, but their defense is going to, if Ryan goes there, the one thing the Ryans all have, they are incredible defensive coaches.
Correct.
And it will be a monster defense next year if Ryan goes there.
Rex Ryan is one of the best defensive coordinators of his time by far. The question is, and it's always a question with adaptation, I think Rex Ryan can do this, but the defense he ran back in the day with the Ravens and with, actually, he won a Super Bowl with the Ravens. What am I thinking? He was the Ravens defense coordinator for a decade.
Long time ago, though.
20 years. It was a long time ago. But anyway, back to what I was saying. If anybody can adapt, I think it's him because his defense that he ran before isn't going to work today. It's a very, very different situation.
But he's also been watching it closely as an analyst. He will be able to adapt. He's been designing defenses to go against the players and the different teams every single week.
listen, he's been doing defense since he was in first grade, drawing it on a piece of paper in his dad's office.
Yes.
Like, if anybody knows defense, it is Rex Ryan. If anybody's going to be successful in that role, it's going to be Rex Ryan. I think he just made Denver that much more of a dangerous team if he gets hired. We're recording this on Tuesday again, so by the time this gets posted, who knows what's going to be announced. But as of now, he's only interviewing for the position. I can't imagine he's not going to get that position if he wants it. It all comes down to dollar and cents at this point.
The money will be there.
I was going to say, what have we said about the Broncos from the word go?
Walmart money.
I mean, this guy has more money than God himself could have even imagined, because it's imaginary money at this point, but that's a different story. If they want to pay Rex Ryan to come, he will be there in 2 seconds flat.
Obviously, Sean Payton went to the ownership and said, we need to get a Rex Ryan in here.
And they said, why not get Rex Ryan in here?
They said, go and get him. Make it happen. And so I would not be surprised if within the next day or two, Ryan's announced and away he goes. He was a very good analyst as well.
He was.
I will miss his insight.
He's an amazing personality. I mean, Rex Ryan is just an amazing personality. He's fun to listen to, and he's going to do really well in Denver, and I hope they mic him up as much as they possibly can.
And the team will play for him.
Definitely.
They will go nuts. They'll do whatever. They will buy in, and it will be incredibly aggressive, and it will be a dominant defense.
If there's one thing Rex Ryan always had wherever he went, it was a top defense.
Yes.
And he's going to bring that again to Denver. They had a top defense last year, and they're going to keep that going.
It's all going to come down to the offense of Russell Wilson and what Sean Payton can, if anything, do with him.
Here's a question for you. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there right now, correct? Russell Wilson has not lived up to the billion, at least in year one. You have players like Derek Carr. You have players like Jimmy Garoppolo out there. Do you go and grab one of them as a backup just in case he doesn't live up to the billion yet again?
None of the three that we're talking about, and I don't care what anybody
too.
Well, and the other one being Rodgers. None of them are going to be backups, including Rodgers in Green Bay.
Well, Rodgers isn't going to be a backup. I didn't even put him on the conversation. I'm talking about two quarterbacks that could legitimately be backups.
Carr is going to be a starter for somebody, and Garoppolo should be.
He could be. Geno Smith will also be out there, who could be on the docket of free agency coming up here too. I think Seattle's going to sign him. I know there have been conversations.
There's not a NFL ready quarterback in the draft.
Not this year.
Not this year. So you're going to have to bring in these veterans to try to bridge the gap. And so I think Carr is going to be a starter. I'm surprised. The Jets, I would say, would be the first one. Garoppolo will be a starter. He may take a backup, but I think he wants to be a starter. I could see him going to Miami if Tua doesn't come back.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about Rodgers in a bit.
I think Garoppolo is going to end up being a backup somewhere for some team. I mean, maybe Miami. I think it's a good fit because Tua, you just don't know what's going to happen. He's a perfect safety net. I think that's where his career is heading at this point. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right, but hey, it'll get him into the Hall of Fame. It worked for Kurt Warner. It's going to work for Jimmy Garoppolo.
I could see it in your eyes that you were going to say that. I was begging you weren't going to.
Same quarterback, except, Garoppolo has a better winning record.
Earl Morrall should be in the Hall of Fame.
I'm with you on Earl Morrall. Earl Morrall is 10 times the quarterback Kurt Warner ever was. And he's not in the Hall of Fame. I agree with you completely.
Took two franchises to the Super Bowl.
He took the Colts to the Super Bowl, and the only reason they lost is because they benched him.
Well, Unitas was coming in. He was having a bad game that day. I watched the game. And the Jets defense was...
It was a guarantee, man. It was the guarantee.
It was a guarantee.
You had the 1972 Dolphins, where he was the quarterback that led that undefeated season, and then in the Super Bowl, they decided to go with
Bob Greasy,
who is in the Hall of Fame,
and
is a worse quarterback than Earl Morrall, in my opinion.
Earl Morrall should have started that Super Bowl. He earned that, but
Earl Morrall is the next Jerry Kramer. The player that should be in the Hall of Fame that's not in the Hall of Fame.
Greatest player not in the Hall of Fame.
There's no question about it. It's Earl Morrall, and he needs to get in ASAP because you put Kurt Warner in as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
With that.
and you're going to put Jimmy Garoppolo in as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Garoppolo is never going to see the inside of a Hall of Fame until he buys a ticket.
He has to. The bar's been set.
Stop. For those new subscribers we have, you've just heard what we've heard almost every third episode on Sports Talk with Dad.
Only every third? I got to up it then.
Yeah.
I got to up this because the world needs to know, and this needs to be fixed. It bugs me.
No kidding.
Hall of Fame is for the best players ever to play the game, and you have players like Earl Morrall not in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
You put in Kurt Warner as a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's wrong, and it bugs me a lot.
Kurt, I love you, and I would love to have you as a guest on the show.
I would too. I got one question.
Oh, yeah.
How dare you?
I'm sure he's going to be just jumping to get on here.
Why do you think you're in the Hall of Fame and not Earl Morrall? Question number one.
And you wonder why we haven't heard back from the NFL Network after they said they were looking at us. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I stick to my morals. I stick with Earl Morrall as well as who should be a Hall of Fame
quarterback. Get on with the show.
There's a lot of quarterbacks out there, though. I could really see Jimmy Garoppolo as a backup in Denver. I just think you need a safety net behind Russell Wilson in case things go wrong.
Look, I'm going to give Sean Payton a chance to turn Wilson around. Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett were never compatible. They were never on the same page. I love what Sean Payton said about, there's not going to be offices here.
Hackett was brought in because of the idea that Rodgers was coming to
I understand
Denver. That's why he was there. That setup was for Hackett and Rodgers. And when Wilson came in, Hackett wasn't mature enough in the position to change the way he wanted to run the operation.
And he let Wilson call too many shots. He wasn't the head coach. It's what we see in Green Bay all the time. LaFleur doesn't call any shots.
It's a coach that gave up. I mean, that's really what it was.
End of the season.
It's a coach that gave up after week 1, in my opinion, and Russell Wilson, after losing to Seattle, was never the same.
Right.
It just wasn't a good fit. We'll see. I still think you need a backup there.
Well, they're going to need a backup because every team usually has a backup.
But I mean, a real safety blanket like a Derek Carr, who's...
If you're going to do that, then you go and pay Garoppolo whatever you need to pay him to get him in, because he's a perfect safety.
You have to be careful on paying, though, too, because you just paid Russell Wilson so much money.
Again, I know they're cap considerations, but Garoppolo will come in, and he won't be that expensive at this point. He's not going to get started. He's not going to get the 45. What is the exemption? 45 million. I think Jordan Love's going to get 20.
I have no idea.
He's going to get 20.
I'm not sure.
I know they were talking about Daniel Jones is going to be a $45 million quarterback. So
a year?
Yes. Price of poker's gone up.
I mean, I'm a believer in Daniel Jones, but
don't forget they just got a brand new contract, and the salary cap is going to explode.
It is. That's still $45 million for Daniel Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Man who's proved himself in one season. Again, I'm a Daniel Jones fan, and I think he's going to do great things in this league, but that's a lot of money for a guy that had one decent year.
Yeah. God bless him if he can get it.
And Lamar Jackson's fighting for something guaranteed. That's going to be interesting to see where Lamar Jackson goes. Somebody's going to pay that price. Somebody is. The Baltimore Ravens are not. And he will sit out this year if he doesn't get the money that he wants to get.
I could see him in New Orleans, in Indianapolis. I don't know what fell apart.
It's guaranteed money.
Yeah,
the Deshaun Watson deal ruined every single conversation because Lamar Jackson's now saying, if that's what Deshaun got, that I'm going to get $1 million more at least. He wants $231 million guaranteed. The Ravens are looking at it saying, just because the Browns are stupid, doesn't mean we are stupid. And Lamar's saying, that's not my problem. And I completely understand where he's coming from.
I do too. However, look, the Browns were idiots for a lot of reasons.
They had to pay that if they wanted Watson to come. Otherwise, he was going to Atlanta.
Don't get me started, because I don't think Watson should be in the league.
But you know my opinion on this. I'm right there with you. I think it's gross and disgusting, and I hate it. He still got paid $230 million guaranteed. And I don't blame Lamar Jackson, even though I don't think he's worth being paid the highest paid contract in the NFL of guaranteed money. Listen, he's an MVP. He's taking you to the playoffs every single year. He's got to work on throwing a little bit, at least accurately. But I don't blame him for sitting back and saying that's the money I'm getting paid.
I don't either. But Jackson's going to be a great quarterback for somebody. It's not going to be in Baltimore.
I don't think he's going to be a Baltimore Raven. I think the Baltimore Ravens are looking for backup plans right now, as they should. It's just going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, you may see something. I could see a draft day trade for Lamar Jackson.
Oh, easily. And you know what? I think he would bring a good value. There's no reason he wouldn't.
If you have somebody that can work with them on the pocket presence a little bit more, I've always said, what do I like about Lamar Jackson is he makes a decision quick. I may not always agree with him running, but dude's an athlete, and he makes that decision like that.
If I were Lamar Jackson, I would want to end up in New England.
New England, Atlanta, Indianapolis.
New England, work with Belichick. He'd fix him.
There's a lot of holes on that Patriots
It's a bad team. It's a bad team. Or I'm still not convinced. I know Tua says he's coming back. He's one hit away from being out of the league forever.
Yeah, his head's pretty jacked, man.
You can't take the hits he has. And I mean, look, this is almost a Nick Collins type thing. For those of you who don't remember, Nick Collins, former Green Bay Packer, had his head slammed down into his shoulders, and that was into his career. And he was going to be a Hall of Fame superstar. He was that good.
Yeah.
Who was in that boat where, in the case of Nick Collins, the Packers looked at him and said, sorry, we're not risking your life for a football
get cleared.
game.
Nobody else was going to clear him.
Somebody was going to, well, that's because the Packers called everybody and made sure they understood what he was.
I always feel bad for Nick Collins. That's what it should have been. I mean, you have Nick Collins and Sean Taylor. Sean Taylor, obviously a more tragic story because he died. But those are two players that should have been all-time greats, where in Taylor's case, his life was cut short. In Collins' case, he had an injury that ended his career, and his career was cut short.
I'll tell you, the other guy put in that category is Sterling Sharp. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, he should be in the Hall of Fame anyways.
He should be.
I mean, definitely ahead of Kurt Warner. Moving on to the Rodgers conversation here. Moving on to the Rodgers conversation here. I know you want to talk about this. I'm sick and tired of this conversation.
No, I don't want to talk about it, but I want to get it out of the way. For those who have heard, everybody is speculating about Rodgers. There's all this news. The Bob McGuinns of the world have come out and said that the Packers are just done with him. They're frustrated, and they're going to move on. That Jordan Love is Aaron Rodgers 2.0, to which I say, bullshit.
He's the next Hall of Fame quarterback.
He is not the next Hall of Fame quarterback. We don't even know if he's going to be a serviceable quarterback in the NFL yet. Rodgers is, I know you're loving it. Rodgers is still one of the top 5, 6, 7, 8 quarterbacks in the league. He had a down year because he had a brand new receiving core who he never worked with before. If you've got a Hall of Fame quarterback in your house, rework the contract and get him in and be done with it. And I think that's still what's going to happen because Goody doesn't have the balls to move on from him. And I think Rodgers really doesn't want to move. He wants to end his career as a Packer. He said it for years.
People forget. A lot of comparisons are put into the Brett Favre situation where the Packers say they moved on and look what happened. The Packers were not ready to move on from Favre. People forget they went to Favre in June when he announced he was coming back and were asking him to come back and start for the Green Bay Packers. Sure. The conversation always was, if Favre wants to come back, he will be here in Green Bay. And Favre decided he did not want to stay in Green Bay, and that's why they moved on from Rodgers and sent Favre to the Jets. That was not a Packer decision.
Right. It was a Favre decision.
Favre decision.
Well, Favre wanted to go to play for Brad Childress
in Minnesota, which, again, I thought should have been allowed from the word go. I thought that whole thing was stupid.
I do too.
But it is what it is. They may want to move on from Rodgers, but they're dumb. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do I want Rodgers back, with 10 being the highest? It's a 13. Or I should say it's a 12. I missed an opportunity for a really good...
Little late now.
and I just missed it.
And by the way,
it's a 12 because he's number 12. And I said, I screwed that up. I'm really disappointed in myself.
You should be. And by the way, if he would go to the Jets, I am so against him taking number 12, even though Namath said he can have it.
No.
Go back to number 8 and be done with it.
10 that he wore in high school.
Whatever. I don't care
whatever number you want. You don't take numbers down from the rafters.
No, you don't. It's wrong on so many different levels.
The only time I didn't have an issue with somebody wearing a number that nobody really wore before was when Von Miller went to the Rams for their Super Bowl run, because 40 wasn't retired. But even though it wasn't retired, he still called Elroy Hirsch's family and asked permission to wear it because it was unofficially.
It was like the Paul Hornung deal in Green Bay. It's not retired, but it is retired.
You don't wear it. And I thought it was classy. Like, it's not retired. He could have wore it, but he understood the history of the game and respects the history of the game enough to call Elroy Hirsch's family and ask for permission. Made me love Von Miller even more.
Because Elroy Hirsch, honestly, that number should be retired for now. Both Von Miller and Elroy Hirsch make it a double.
Yeah.
And
Same
maybe they'll do
Peyton
it.
Manning. I mean, I don't think Peyton Manning should have wore 18 in Denver. I mean, it was retired. You keep it. So I'm with you there. I have a dark horse for Rodgers since we're going to have this stupid conversation again.
Oh, God. Okay.
We might as well.
We're there now.
We're here.
By the way, on McAfee, he announced there will be no decision this week. So,
which is great.
That. Yeah.
Take your time. You don't need to make a decision until free agency comes around.
Got to March 15th.
Gutekunst should be making the same decisions for Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. If you think Jordan Love is as good as it is, you need to give him receivers too. Your decisions shouldn't change based on the quarterback you have. So you do your thing and then worry about it later. But Rodgers has another 2 weeks to make a decision before it even makes a difference. And honestly, in free agency and the draft, it shouldn't make a difference. You should have your plan set anyway.
And by the way,
quarterbacks you have.
Give Rodgers credit. He comes out early, he makes his decision, and then they move on, whatever it is. He never held up the team like Favre did until training camp was going on.
No, he didn't.
I like Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know why people want to move on from him. I don't get it. I have a dark horse, though, if you're going to make a trade, because I think a couple things are going to happen here. And the trade would happen on draft night if this happened. The Washington football team, I'm calling them because the Commanders is a stupid name.
A stupid logo.
It is. I like the W.
I like the W, but I like the W. They should honor their past.
I agree.
We'll talk about it sometime.
I agree. But you have Washington that is going to be sold by rumors, is what's being said in March.
Correct.
They're saying it's going to be sold in March at some point, which needs to happen.
Yes.
You have a new offensive coordinator there in Bieniemy, who finally gets to call his own plays, which is a smart move for him, by the way.
Oh, I don't.
And under Andy Reid's shadow, that was a conversation between the two of them. You got to go someplace else and call plays for a while. He'll be a head coach next year.
He should be. Well, he wasn't a head coach because he hadn't been calling the plays, even though Andy Reid has been politicking for him for a long time.
It is what it is, but he's going to be a great offensive coordinator in Washington.
And he'll be a great head coach.
And you have an owner, possibly new owner, rumored new owner by March, who's going to want to come in and make a splash, and there's no bigger splash than going to get Aaron Rodgers. They have a team with the defense that is ready to go, especially with Chase Young coming back healthy. You have Terry McLaurin that you just paid a lot of money to, who is a very underrated wide receiver because the quarterback play has been so bad. You have a good running back. You have a good offensive line. Rodgers could really make a difference. I think he'd look great in maroon. And he can go there and hopefully wear their old logo because, in my opinion, is the classiest logo of all time. Go back to Washington football team. Bring back the old Native American logo that was designed by a Native American chief, by the way.
To honor Native
Americans who went to the ownership and asked, can I design your logo? So that was drawn and created by a Native American chief. So you should honor it because it's a classy logo and it makes sure we don't forget the past in America. Moving on.
We're going to go in more detail on that some show coming up.
We will. It bugs me a lot because it's...
And me too. It's a travesty that we're
I don't want to forget that part of American history. We're all Americans.
Those who forget history are destined to repeat it.
That's our American history, and like it or not, mean, those people are a big part of our past on this land, and I think we should honor them more than we do. And I don't like that we're getting rid of logos that represent Native Americans, especially in a classy way.
You mean like in our hometown where they could put two Native Americans portaging their canoes and calling them warriors because they were, instead of the stupid P or the Wolverines helmets.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just don't
mean to throw our hometown under the bus, but I'm going to.
I love that logo. I think it's classy, and I think it honors America's history, especially in that area. So I hope the owner brings that back. Don't call them Redskins. I don't care. Doesn't bother me, but that logo's amazing. Call them the Washington football team and bring back that
logo. At some point, people have to understand why the term Redskin came up. It wasn't a derogatory until later on in American history.
And you know what? If it became any Native American has a problem with it, I have a problem with it. So I get getting rid of the name. But again, that logo's classy, and I want that logo to come back because, again, it's beautiful, and I love it, and I'd love to see him wear it on the helmets again. But Rodgers would make a huge splash there, and he would make a huge impact on that team. He'd respond to Ron Rivera, who is an amazing coach. Bieniemy is going to be lights out with him.
Yes.
And I think it's a great splash for a new owner that's coming into that franchise.
My question is, do they have draft capital?
100% do. Because, again, it's a new owner that's looking to make a splash. Look what just happened with the Suns.
Mm-hmm.
New owner comes in, green light to get Kevin Durant no matter what it takes. And you do the same thing here in Washington. New owner comes in, you give what it takes to get Rodgers in here. And again, I think he's going to light it up. And they're going to give 4 first-round draft picks to make sure they get him.
If they do that, then the Packers would be stupid not to make the trade.
They would.
I don't know if they wouldn't get 4 first-round picks. And here's the problem. Here's why I say
it's a new owner. I know that they're going to mortgage the future.
I don't think they would do that. I think Ron Rivera would go, we're not mortgaging our future to that point for a guy who might be only playing 2 more years, but I can see 2 first rounds and 2 seconds and thirds, a whole package of picks to make it happen.
Maybe. I give up my whole draft for Aaron Rodgers.
And thank you, Mike Ditka, who got Ricky Williams that way. And
Ricky Williams, people forget how good of a player Ricky Williams was, especially with the Dolphins. He had like 8,000-yard rushing seasons, and that was actually hard to do in a row. I mean,
he had to grow up and get there. And
he was a great player.
Yes.
You put a player behind a running back behind an offensive line that couldn't stop a carton of eggs from getting through. I mean, it was a bad offensive line. I didn't know where to go with that. I didn't have something in my head.
Carton of eggs.
And I was going to say sand and water, but that's really hard. And so I said carton of eggs. It was dumb. I said it. Moving on.
Okay. I'm going to remember
Rodgers
that
is
one.
worth mortgaging a draft for. He is. He's a top 5 quarterback in the league to this day. And
he's a top 7 or 8 quarterback.
He's a top 5 quarterback in the league to this day.
Top 7 or 8.
He's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
I can give you the top 5 right now. Mahomes.
Sure.
Burrow.
Yep.
Whoops. Sorry.
Doing a great job.
Oh, stop it. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback. I'm missing somebody. Oh, Josh Allen. There's 5.
That was 4.
That was 5.
Even if I'm counting them.
Mahomes,
Burrow, Allen, Hurts.
Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody.
I'm not missing anybody.
Yes, I am. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, thank you.
5.
Thank you.
He's still not top 5. I'm missing somebody, and I'll think of it. Yeah. I'm sorry, my hair just went away for a minute.
Or you can't.
Put in the
5.
Put in the context who I'm forgetting.
Or just remind him.
And while you're down there, make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you like and then hit the notification bell.
You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt yourself. Make a comment below to tell him that Rodgers is still a top 5 quarterback. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
Got all 3 in this time.
You're getting better. You are getting much better.
There's nowhere to go but up from what I've done this.
I think Washington's a great fit. I think they're a dark horse. I think they're going to be the team that ends up with Rodgers as long as the team is sold. Again, the team has to be sold for that to happen. But then I think you're going to see Rodgers in Washington. I think he's going to do great.
Okay. Could I see it happening? Yes, I could. I absolutely could. Then there's the teams like the Cowboys who have Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott, I think, on draft night is moving to Seattle. I said earlier in the year that Dak Prescott's going to be in Seattle in 2023. I still think that's a real possibility.
Well, and would Rodgers want to reunite with his former coach? He doesn't like his current coach.
I mean, I think he would. I think they do really well together. I think all bridges have been mended. I think it happened. What always happens. You know, it's time had run its course. They got into a fight. The leadership in Green Bay wasn't strong enough to mend any fences at that point.
Still isn't.
And it was time to move on for both parties. Mike McCarthy, I actually saw him as a head coach again last year in the playoffs.
He had the eye of the tiger to steal a Rocky theme.
He 100% did. And
he's a quarterback away.
I think it would be a great fit. And I do think Seattle is a good fit for Dak Prescott because I don't think Geno's going to be there.
I could see it happening.
I don't.
But the bottom line is, and here's my final thing on Rodgers. Until I hear him say I'm moving on, until he tells the Packers, trade me, he is going to be back in Green Bay. And all this speculation is just that.
Yeah.
It's hot stove league BS to fill up some lines in a paper or on a
That's all it
website.
is. That's all it is. So let's move on to other quarterbacks that are playing right now.
Let's do that.
Which is in the XFL.
Oh, my God. The most entertaining football weekend I've seen in a long time. I wasn't expecting much from the XFL, but it blows away the USFL.
Listen, I was shocked at how much I enjoyed the games. The defenses in that league.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know how much I missed defense in the NFL.
Defense is far and away better than the offense at this point anyways, but it was fun to watch.
It was unbelievable to watch. And let me tell you, the rules, the 4th and 15 rule is great.
I like that rule.
It happened in the first game where they went for it on 4th and 15. The clock keeps running like it would on a regular onside kick. If you make it, you get it, and you just keep going wherever you were.
And the guy should have caught that pass for the Vipers.
Yes, Geronimo Allison.
Yeah, he should. Well, that explains it. Never mind.
There it is. He should have, but what a great way to end the game. I loved that rule, and I'm glad we got to see it right away. Mm-hmm. Holy sponsors, Batman, for the XFL. You have ESPN, ABC, you have Progressive, you have Under Armour, whose logo they did steal, but at least they let them make the uniforms. Under Armour was everywhere. The stands were loud.
And they were full.
They weren't full.
Well, they had good crowds at all these places.
They did. They drew 15 to 20,000 people at every single game.
I do have one question for me for the weekend that I'll ask in a second. I think what has put the XFL over the top is Dwayne Johnson because he wanted it to be football.
Correct.
And they're playing football. When Vince McMahon had it before, it was a show. It wasn't football. They've got it back to football, and The Rock is just adding the show, saying once again why he is probably the most brilliant entertainment businessman in the world.
Listen, the kickoffs were interesting. I'm not sure if I like the kickoffs as much.
Trying to get rid of the high speed.
They're trying to make kickoffs more a part of a game, and the punts you couldn't move until the ball was actually punted, which is new. So they're trying to bring that more into the game in a different way.
I can't see any.
It was whatever. I didn't see any real impact.
I don't think anybody's going to break a touchdown run with that rule. Maybe they will, but
maybe they will. I don't know.
But
time will tell.
The only question I had was watching the DC game versus Seattle.
I want to talk about that, but I want to talk about one more thing that I really like because I want to. I know where you're going with it.
Again, he cuts me off.
Listen, I'm on a roll.
Go ahead.
And we're going to stick with it because this is my favorite thing. And this is where the NFL's missing. This is where the XFL wins versus everybody else. The challenge where you actually got to watch the referee in the booth make decisions.
That was brilliant.
That was the greatest thing I've seen on a football field in a long time. And you're thinking, Kyle, that's a real exaggeration. It's not. Because not only am I not stuck just listening to announcers talk about whatever they're doing and taking forever, I actually get to watch the referee make the decision. And as a fan, it helps me understand why those decisions were made. There was a play in, I forget which game, it was a Saturday night game.
That would have been
Orlando versus Houston.
Oh, okay.
Orlando versus Houston. And there was a play earlier in the game where it looked like an interception. but the receiver got his arm underneath it, and they kind of landed together with the ball. The refs on the field called it a touchdown, which I thought was ridiculous. And I tell you what, if they would have just left and called it a touchdown and let it stand the way it was, me and everybody else would have been like, what is this nonsense? It's unacceptable. But listening to the ref in the booth actually make that call and walk through, you can't really see. These are the angles I'm seeing. There's not enough here to overturn it. I still didn't agree with the call, but I understood why the ref made that decision.
Well, and that's the important thing. What do we always do when the call comes down? That's BS. It happened in the Super Bowl 2 or 3 times. If they would have had the voice in the box and the eye in the sky talking about them through, this is what I'm seeing.
Right.
People don't get upset. And it's more entertaining.
I don't want to hear a paid referee on a network talk about it. I don't. I'd much rather see why that decision is actually being made in the game, live while that decision is being made. That was amazing.
The only thing I could add to the XFL that would make it perfect, as the way it is right now, and it's one the NFL is toying with, but is to put the goal line sensors in.
Yeah, where it lights up when it actually crosses the goal line. That'll definitely help the refs. And I don't think that's that far away in the NFL.
I don't know.
I really don't. But hearing people talk like that, I mean, you want to talk about what is the XFL trying to do, right? And it's where the XFL failed to begin with. It's where the USFL has failed to begin with, is they're giving you reasons to turn the channel. The XFL never gave you a reason to turn the channel.
Well, you and I watched, we were going back and forth on all the games. I think 4 games this weekend?
We watched 3 out of the 4 games and actually watched 3 out of the 4 games. And the third game we flipped back and forth through because I was with the kids and you were doing whatever you were doing.
It was completely enjoyable. It was fun to watch good football. AJ McCarron should be in the NFL.
Timeout.
What? No, bad. Okay, the quarterback play was awful except for AJ McCarron.
AJ McCarron was great.
The defenses were outstanding.
One of the more exciting things, too, was watching Lemons getting thrown on the field in the DC game.
Well, that's what I was trying to ask you about.
I wanted to get to that part first, but all right,
You're
go.
Always cutting me off. Well, I was just going to ask you because I haven't heard. They were throwing lemons on. I came in. I flipped back to the...
you know what a beer snake is, right?
I was watching the NBA for a while, just so you know. People were wondering what I was watching when I didn't see the lemons. I was watching the NBA. Go ahead.
In case you cared or not. That's what he was doing. But you know what a beer snake is, right?
Yeah, all the beer cups.
Yeah, you stack beer cups together.
Yeah.
And it goes back. Well, apparently at that DC stadium that they were playing at, that's a tradition where one end, when the beers are finished, they stack the beer cups together and make a giant beer snake.
Easy to clean up.
Easy to clean up. They confiscated it. Security confiscated the beer snake.
Confiscated?
Confiscated.
Isn't it confiscated?
That word.
Gotcha.
They took it away. They took away the beer snake. I don't know why, but security just decided they need to take away the beer snake, and the fans freaked out.
They should.
And they started throwing lemons on the field.
I like it.
And, dude, the DC game was loud.
It was.
That was loud. They were flinging beer up after touchdowns. That was an amazing atmosphere.
They were at a great time. So was Arlington, for that matter. They were cheering.
Arlington, the issue is it's too big of a stadium. Where DC, they put it in a smaller stadium.
Probably the right move.
It is, because honestly, I want to see full stadiums. I really do.
These should be in 25 to 35,000 seat stadiums right now.
And just fill them.
Yes.
It's more exciting watching on TV to see a full stadium than it is to see empty seats.
Absolutely.
And that's where the DC game was really excited, because there was an empty seat in the house. And it just makes it look better.
They were into the game, too. They were excited to have the XFL in town.
They were, and they were throwing lemons on there. It was, I mean, you want to talk about getting as close to a college-type atmosphere? That was what that was. And it was exciting, and it made the game more exciting. And again, it gave you reasons not to turn off the game. Because once you turn it off, especially a product like that, you're not going back.
Okay, let's get to the quarterback play, which overall...
That is the biggest difference.
Overall, the quarterback play was not great. I misspoke earlier. The defense was great.
The defense was unbelievable to watch.
With the only exception, AJ McCarron, husband of the most beautiful wife in all sports.
He has a very pretty wife. Miss Alabama.
When they were playing for the national championship, she was on more than the team was on. But
She was.
AJ McCarron played so well, and that's not being sexist. That's just acknowledging that she's a very beautiful woman, and from everything I've heard, a very nice woman. But AJ McCarron proved he should still be in the NFL.
Well, let's talk about quarterback play. Because if there's going to be one downfall in the XFL, it's the quarterback play.
That's the problem with every alternate football league. People forget the original USFL had great quarterbacks. They had Jim Kelly. They had Steve Young. They have Hall of Famers in that league.
Correct. It was really bad. And I did some statistic jumping here just to show how much worse the quarterback play is in the NFL or in the XFL than is in the NFL. So there were 11 pass touchdowns thrown in the XFL in week 1 versus 12 interceptions. It was almost a 1-to-1. I mean, there were more interceptions thrown, and every quarterback except AJ McCarron had at least one interception last week.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
I mean, there were games that had 5 interceptions.
It was not good quarterback or offensive play.
Not even a little bit. I mean, you were talking per game, it was 2 touchdowns, 2.75 touchdowns versus 3 interceptions in each game. So again, more interceptions. And the only reason that was skewed to the way it was is because AJ McCarron had such a good game. But again, you have an NFL talent there that really should be in the NFL right now.
He was so far ahead of every other quarterback. And Brett Hundley didn't play because he's just got to the team. I'm not sure he's going to be up to AJ McCarron level.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting, but AJ McCarron definitely stood out above the rest of them. Going to the NFL in week 1 had 51 touchdowns to 26 interceptions, almost a 2-to-1 ratio of touchdowns to interceptions. And the only reason they had that many interceptions is because Matthew Stafford threw 5. And that really skewed it. And you had Baker Mayfield, or it wasn't Baker Mayfield, it was, I can't remember, but you had another game where 4 were thrown. The rest of them had like 1 interception per game, if any.
Yeah, a quarterback drives every football league. Right now, they've got a hole there, and you've got, let's face it, we're watching The Replacements.
Yeah.
The movie. These are those kind of guys playing, but the defense, on the other hand, had top-line talent, and they dominated. It was so much fun to watch.
I think really what you're seeing is there's a lot of NFL talent out there that can play in the league. A lot. There's plenty of guys that can play on special teams in the NFL. There's plenty of guys that are talented enough to play in that game, not necessarily be stars, but to be in that league. It's different with quarterbacks. Quarterbacks drive the NFL for a reason because there are very few guys that can do what Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson can do. Jalen Hurts can do in this league.
Even you include him in the best of the best, as you should.
Lamar Jackson's one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts is slowly becoming, I'm not saying he's top 5 quarterback yet, but he is a very good quarterback who will probably make that jump this year.
I think he made the jump last year.
Fair enough. I'm just saying he's not ahead of Aaron Rodgers yet. That's all I'm saying.
Well, with no weapons, he's far ahead of him.
Fair. Back to what was I talking about?
I don't know. We were talking about the XFL and the quarterback.
I'm on a roll. Got it. I'm back to where I was. But you look at the XFL, and all of a sudden it's a worse product because of the quarterback play. I don't think the running backs were any worse. I don't think the offensive line play was any worse. Again, you're playing against lesser talent versus lesser talent. But in that context, I don't think any of that was any worse of a product than you see in the NFL. The quarterback play proved to be the difference in why you watch the NFL versus anything else.
I think that's going to be the difference all the time. But the XFL is packaged to this, though, so that it's supremely entertaining to watch.
It is. Well, they've been smart and made it about the coaches.
That's what they have to do.
Follow the college rules.
Yes.
You have Bob Stoops. You have Wade Phillips. You have Terrell Buckley. You have Hines Ward. You have other coaches that I'm forgetting right now, but a whole bunch of coaches on there who have had a lot of success either as NFL players or as coaches in college or the NFL.
And they mic them up, and they showed Terrell Buckley in there, and that was just awesome. And Terrell, the Viper game, who are the Vipers playing? They played Orlando, right?
The Vipers played Arlington.
Okay. So the Vipers were down, or the game was 14-3. It was not a good game.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Turned around in the second half and came down to that last second play.
It did. And there's no questions about this being rigged or anything like that because you hear the refs make calls all the time and the reason why they make calls. And you hear the challenges on why those happen. You hear the coaches talking, the players talking. It's what the XFL should have been when it was first created. This was just really well thought out. They said football first,
Correct.
And we're going to add the rest in as much as we can later in the game and really put a solid product. And that's what the NFL should be more like if they're going to go forward. I think the NFL ends up buying the XFL at some point, honestly, just to take what they have and to put it into the
I don't
league.
think the USFL survives after this because the XFL can expand. They can grab those teams and just make it a better product. Again, The Rock has done an amazing job of this league.
He has.
My question is, what did you think of the uniforms?
I like the uniforms.
Really?
I didn't like Houston's helmets.
Houston was pretty lame.
I couldn't decide. I was like, they're interesting. I don't like them. I like the Orlando whites. I don't think I like the greens. I like the Seattle helmets a
The
lot.
Seattle whites were good.
I like the Seattle helmets a lot. Those are really cool. I mean, they were creative.
I didn't like, again, the Arlington one.
The R
Or
on
the-
the Arlington.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's supposed to be. It looks like a PlayStation symbol.
It looked like something.
I like the secondary logo, which was the old Dallas Bandits logo in the previous XFL interpretation. That was cool. I don't know what the R is.
They'll
That
work
was
on it.
pretty
It's the
dumb.
First year. I like DC was nice and clean.
DC was clean. I like
I
DC
like
uniforms a lot. The Vipers, I mean, you can't screw up a V with a Viper. It's pretty basic.
And they had the fangs coming
The
out.
fangs coming out of the stripes. That was really cool. I thought they did a really good job. Overall, it's a good product. Again, you look at that quarterback play, though. They have to start designing plays better suited to these quarterbacks because it was bad. I mean, it was really, really bad.
Okay, so you've got the first weekend is gone. It's going to be interesting to see as they get to the second and third and fourth week if the audience will maintain. I think it will because it was that fun to watch. But I think you're right. At some point, the quarterbacks are going to have to step up and at least be able to dominate the defense a little bit. Right now, it is a defensive game.
The defense is miles ahead of where the offense is. And if you think about it, most of those coaches are defensive coaches.
Yes.
And I think that makes a big difference behind it. But they are miles ahead on the defensive side than they are on the offensive side.
There were some of those defensive players that just took up a hotel room in the backfield.
Yeah, I mean, they were making the quarterbacks pay rent on their property behind the offensive line. It was ugly. I do have to welcome you to something, but before I do that, thank you so much for tuning in. And why am I talking like this? This is not the end of the show.
No, it's not.
This
It's
is the middle of the show.
Well, it's getting,
If you guys agree with the XFL comments, make that comment down below, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
It took 100 episodes for you to sit there and go,
I froze.
You froze.
I froze.
Our word.
100th episode. I froze.
It won't happen again.
That was really bad. My brain just went. It did not want to function there for a second, but I have to welcome you.
Yes.
I think permanently, really. I think it is time that you just join my Cub fandom.
Oh. Well, I've always been a Cub fan. I was a Cub fan
But
before
I think
you
it's
were.
time for you to officially turn on the Brewers and admit that they're a terrible organization.
What they did to Corbin Burns, there is a pox upon the house as far as I'm concerned. You have a guy you stole a no-hitter from.
Oh, and they held it against him, too,
And they
in negotiations.
Let me go off on the damn team. I rooted for him.
I'm enjoying heating you up against the Brewers. It makes
Corbin
me
Burns
happy.
had a no-hitter stolen from him by Craig Counsell. And he goes into arbitration asking for 10.75. The Brewers were offering 10.1. And what do? Well, you've never had a no-hitter.
Cy Young Award winner.
Damn you, Brewers. That's just ridiculous. You're going to chase away. Well,
It was 10.6, actually. It was $500,000.
Sound familiar? That's what they did with Paul Molitor. They let him go for $500,000. Again, you're letting your talent go. Corbin Burns is out the door. And it's all because of ownership for a lousy $500,000 for a Cy Young winner who should have had a no-hitter.
Well,
that Craig Counsell stole from him.
You don't know what would have happened in that ninth inning.
I would have liked to have found out. And Nick, I guarantee you this, and I said it at the time, if that would have been Nolan Ryan, Roger Clemens, and now Craig Counsell, not Craig Counsell, but Corbin Burns, if Counsell tries to take another no-hitter, if he goes into the 8th inning with a no-hitter and he says, no, I'm pulling you out for the 9th inning, Corbin Burns will punch him in the mouth and I'll be cheering louder than anybody else.
Corbin Burns just learned a lesson we all have to learn in our life.
Never, ever pass up a chance at immortality.
When you have an opportunity, don't ever let anybody talk you out of it.
And then, and he even defended the idiot for taking him out.
Yeah, he was a kid.
He's a kid. He's not a kid anymore.
Corbin Burns just grew up. And I'd tell you what, if I was Corbin Burns, and I guarantee this is going to be him right now, I'll go into spring training. That first game I pitch, I get hurt within 10 pitches. And I'm on the 15-day L until the All-Star break when I get traded. I don't pitch another inning for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Or you go in and you say, I'm pitching 5.5. Pull me. I'm done. I'm not playing this game.
I won't even do that. Why am I going to risk myself getting hurt for a team that clearly doesn't care about me? And you may say, he's getting paid $10.1 million. That's not the point.
Not the point.
That's not the point.
He can do something less than 0.1% of any population can do.
Correct.
He's got a gift from God on his arm.
And listen, we're paying for tickets, we're paying for merchandise, and the players 100% should get a piece of that pie. These owners are billionaires off of them. They should be able to ask for the money that they are the reason that it gets produced. And it's about respect when it comes down to that. This is not like any other job or any other situation in life. He said, I've given you all of this. I've given you a Cy Young award to the organization. I've given you playoff hopes year in and year out for the organization.
I supported you when you took me out of a no freaking hitter.
Every time I step on that field, I pitch my hardest. I took what you guys said and went and worked hard to become the pitcher that I am. I listened. I did my job. And you're going to come after me for a 2% raise? Because that's all it is. He was asking for 2% of a raise of what the Brewers were offering. And they said no. Put that in your life perspective here. Put that in any situation. You go to your boss in life and you say, I've busted my ass for you.
It's less than
I want a 2% raise.
That's less than the cost of living increase.
I want a 2% raise. And they say no. How would you react? Put it in perspective of real life numbers. Don't think, because that's the issue I've had with Brewers fans is they're saying, well, it's $500,000. You're getting paid $10.1 million. That's not the point. He was asking for 2% more. That's all he was asking for was 2% more. And the Brewers said no.
The Brewers,
that's a problem.
It's a big problem. People never complain about the fact that Tom Cruise makes $20-30 million per movie, whatever it is. You know what? They can do things we can't. That's why they get that money.
Right.
And Corbin Burns earned that money. And for the Brewers not to give him a 2% raise to ensure that he is a Brewer for life, they should have signed him to a long-term deal worth $20 million a year because he's at that kind of talent. He's young.
You play the arbitration game in baseball, I get it. But when somebody asks you for a 2% raise after winning a Cy Young for you, you give them a 2% raise. That's unacceptable.
I am so
He's gone.
Angry.
He's being traded at the All-Star break.
I don't blame him. I am a Corbin Burns fan, and I was a Brewers fan, and I lived through the Molitor trade year that he didn't have to go, but thank God he did. He got his World Series ring with Toronto. Milwaukee might have had a chance if they would have kept him and Yount for another couple of years. Who knows? We never will. But Corbin Burns earned that 2%, and for Milwaukee not to do it, screw them.
Welcome to being a Cubs fan. Glad to have you on my
well,
team.
Speaking of which, they let Maddox go for $500,000 back in the day, so don't start with me.
For my time.
God, you want to get my blood pressure up? You just did. I didn't know you were going there today.
Welcome to Cubs World. You can be with me. You can cheer for an organization that actually has won World Series.
Okay, they won one in 2016, and it was 100 years. It was 100 years before.
It's still
more than the Brewers have. Raleigh Fingers doesn't get hurt.
You guys celebrate a team
that's because
that never won.
That's because Raleigh, by the way, they had a replay of Game 5 of the 82 Championship Series. Great game. I watched it the other night. That's all I got. Because at that point, they had Harry Dalton and Bud Selig, who actually paid for a team, and they kept the team together for several years, and Milwaukee was good. They would have had another World Series had it not been a strike year. Corbin and this Milwaukee ownership group,
you might have Corbin Burns right now. If only you had pitched that last inning.
Yeah, he might have had a. You don't take away somebody, especially in baseball. That's such a hard game. You don't take away a chance at immortality.
Baseball being ruined. It's baseball being ruined
because they have nothing but slurs. Burns is one of the exceptions. He is a pitcher. He goes long.
You know what they're going to do to fix baseball? Robot umpires.
Don't even start with me. They do not need that. They need to train the current ones, and I'll prove it to you because I proved it to you. We were watching the All-Star game.
That was really good.
The guy never missed one.
There's nothing wrong. It's the same thing in the NFL, and this is what I think you need the robots for. I'm not saying full robot umpires. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. But it's the same thing in the NFL, right? Let's make a ref or an umpire's job easier. If you set up sensors around the plate and put a little chip in the ball, where when it crosses the plate, hear me out. Before you shake your head, as soon as the ball crosses the plate, it lights up green. All you have to do is focus on up and down.
No.
That's all you have to do.
No.
As soon as you don't even need a chip necessarily in the ball. It should just be able to sense it. As soon as that ball goes over the plate, it lights up green.
Put the umpires back directly behind the catchers.
I don't understand why you're for this in football, but you're against it in baseball, where it could make it better. You're keeping the umps behind there, but again, you're making it so they have to only focus on is it up or down.
Because traditionally, the ball and strike umpires throughout history has been good. They don't miss that many. It's only Angel Fernandez that's screwing the...
But it's not, though. We've proven that on the show. We've gone through statistics. We've even shown where they're missing.
Give them better training and move them...
something away from getting messed up with an umpire, why wouldn't you? If you can make the job easier, don't be a purist when it comes to baseball.
I'm not being a purist.
You are, because you're saying this would work in football, but not in baseball.
Football has a history of changing the sport and changing the rules, but baseball, fine. If
baseball doesn't, and that's why nobody watches it anymore.
That's not true. You know why nobody watches baseball anymore, and it doesn't have
change.
It does. I'm good with some change. I am. This is one where I think the umpires don't get the training they should, and they move the umpires so they're only seeing one corner. Move them back behind the catcher where they belong.
But if you can take away one aspect of what an umpire has to do, where you just have to watch the up and down, why wouldn't you make it easier?
We'll find out in AAA this year.
AAA is not doing what my suggestion is. They're having full robot umpires, which I don't agree with. You can put sensors...
Well, they're doing it for half the year.
You can put sensors on the plate where it lights up when the ball crosses the plate, and then you know.
No.
And then it takes one thing the umpire has to watch. Guess what you're going to see better views of? Check swings. You're going to see that more often. You're going to see where that ball is up and down, because now that's all you're watching. It's too much to ask somebody to watch a ball coming in at 106 miles per hour.
They've only been doing it for 175 years.
Nobody's pitched this hard before. You have a league filled with 100 mile per hour pitchers.
Walter Johnson, Bob Feller, biggest racist on the face of the planet.
You said that thousands of times.
I know. Well, it's not even close to your other one. Roger Clemens, going back in the day, Warren Spahn, they all could throw that kind of heat. It's not the umpires.
They had other pitches that offset it that looked a lot faster. I get what you're saying at this point, but all I'm saying is, and all I'm asking you to come to my side on is, if we can make it easier on umpires sitting behind the plate, why wouldn't we?
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we stop with having throwers and start going back to having pitchers that can actually do it?
Discussion.
But it's all part of baseball, and part of what's ruining baseball is they've gone to this, well, let's just get somebody to throw under 6 mile an hour. We'll use them for an inning. We'll bring somebody in. It ruins the game.
I agree. I had a whole thing where when I was growing up, when you were growing up, pitchers were the stars. Pitchers are the stars of baseball in the same way quarterbacks are the stars in the NFL. I agree with you. And they've taken stars out of baseball, and then they confuse why people don't watch baseball anymore. I agree. But that's not the conversation we're having right now. You're changing the subject for no reason.
I'm not.
I am saying, if you can make life easier on an umpire behind the plate, why wouldn't you? If you can set sensors around a plate because all the ball has to do is cross the plate and it's a strike, which means the umpire just has to watch if it goes up and down.
Look, before I'm going to
make baseball better.
I am not opposed to trying it in the minor leagues to see if it works before you bring it to the show. I don't want to. There's better ways of doing things. And if that works and is proven in the minor leagues, fine. Let's bring it in and try it.
There's not better ways of doing things. Give me one better way than my suggestion. You've poo-pooed my suggestion at this point.
Yeah, and I'll give you the answer.
And give me a better one.
Train your umpires and move them back behind the catcher.
You can make umpires' jobs
You
easier.
just wanted me to give you a reason. I did.
That's not a reason. You're saying do the same thing you've been doing.
No. Look.
What's the definition of insanity?
The umpires overall are outstanding. I proved it to you. I made you watch 6 innings, and the guy didn't miss a call.
You're talking about one umpire who's the all-star umpire. He was behind the plate because he is the best umpire behind the plate.
And I proved
the best in the game.
Yes, and I proved it to you on several other games, including the playoffs and including
the same guy.
It wasn't the same guy. 99% of the umpires in baseball are outstanding and can
They're
call
not
a game.
missing up and down. They're missing side to side.
Let me finish. There's one outlier in baseball. Angel Hernandez, who the media focuses on because of all of his misses. Do the training, move the umpires back so they're seeing the entire plate from directly behind the catcher instead of sliding into the inside part of the plate, which means they're going to miss the outside part of the plate. Let them be right behind there, and all of a sudden you're going back to seeing the ball come in. You'll see it side to side and up and down. You don't need to do this.
You make an umpire's life easier, make the game better, and make the plate light up when the ball crosses the plate, and all of a sudden they're not going to miss anymore.
You can't say that because it's never been tested. It's not like Hawkeye in tennis.
I'm not saying Hawkeye. I'm saying putting sensors around the plate where the ball crossed the plate, boop, it lights up green, and now you just have to focus on, okay, was it high or was it low?
Because machines never make mistakes, do they? I'm for testing in the minor leagues.
I don't understand how you're for this in the NFL.
Because the NFL...
With the same type... I'm talking about the same equipment. I'm talking about the same exact equipment.
And test it in the minor leagues.
That's fine, but you're not saying test it in the minor leagues of football. You're saying bring it to the NFL. You're all for it. So why are you all for the same thing in the NFL, but not in Major League Baseball?
Because there's not a scrum of people around the ball when it goes over the line. There's nothing to impose and interfere with it.
All it is making the referee or umpire's job easier.
You don't even know what they call officials in baseball. They aren't referees, they're umpires.
I said referees or umpires.
There's no referees in baseball. There's umpires.
Because I'm saying NFL and MLB. They're not umpires in MLB, they're referees.
Okay.
So I have referenced both.
Here, simply put, baseball has basically been the same game for 175 years.
Now nobody watches it.
Football has a history of changing.
Which is why it's the most popular sport.
Granted, and I'm not. We have a 5-step plan to change baseball, which somebody, by the way, on YouTube has blatantly stole from us.
They have stolen our
idea. Exactly. And I don't have a problem with it. Give us credit because we were months and months ahead of you.
It was our first video.
Which we're going to have to repeat because we're going to have to, now that we've got a bigger audience, we can fix baseball and make it more entertaining, make it so everybody around the country...
5 steps real quick, and then I'm going to go back to you being a hypocrite.
I'm not a hypocrite.
It's okay. You're old. We forgive you.
I'm not old. Stop it.
You're the cute old man now. We discussed that last week. We've already decided. And it's okay. You're old. You're angry.
I'm
angry.
You
don't want change.
I want them to change by being better at what they do.
Ice cream used to taste better when I was a kid.
Say that.
I get it.
They moved the umpires for no reason to the insider part of the plate. Go through the 5
Listen, you think ice cream tasted better when you were a kid.
I did not.
I mean, I understand. It's okay. It's okay. The ice cream sundae made it better. And this will make baseball better.
Move on quick.
We have the 5 points in baseball. First one, and this is what was stolen. So first thing first, you make the divisions smaller and you add more of them. So instead of 3 5-team divisions, you have 5 3-team divisions. It makes it more competitive. Everybody has a 1/3 chance. It means that if you're going, because the problem with baseball is owners tank all the time.
Right.
It's regional owners tank. This way, the Orioles can't do what they've been doing. The Marlins can't do what they've been doing. The Reds can't do what they've been doing.
Milwaukee can't do what it's been doing.
Correct. You're not going to tank. You're going to have to spend on players and be competitive because you have a 1/3 chance every single year to get to the playoffs. And if you're just in the basement every single year, it's going to get noticed, and your fan base is going to revolt.
And you're all of a sudden caring about what's happening in the other divisions. But right now, by Memorial Day, 3 teams in every division are practically out of it.
Exactly. The other one is bringing in the 12th inning, where once you get past the 11th, you go into the 12th inning, it's a home run derby.
I like that rule.
And that's also going to make the All-Star Game home run derby a lot more exciting, because those are the players you're going to bring in to actually have the home run derby. So you don't have to worry about messing with the swing. That's all they're there to do anyway.
And if people are upset about that, they do it in hockey, they do it in soccer. It's the most exciting part of those games. I don't have a problem with it because you can win up until the 12th inning, but at the 12th inning, you no longer are going to have 7, 8, 9-hour games.
No, and you're going to make it a lot more exciting, and you're going to make people want to stay and watch the game. What is the XFL doing, making you not change the channel? That's what baseball is going to bring back. The other thing that is going to shorten those games a lot is you only get once per game where you can change a pitcher during an inning, meaning that the game's in play right now, you're within 1 to 3 outs, and you can only make that change once unless there's an injury, which means that all of the other games need to be changed, or all the pitching changes have to be made after the inning's over, which means you lessen the amount of pitchers you need, really, because those changes, again, are going to be made because it takes 10 minutes to change out a pitcher while an inning is going on, while a half inning is going on.
You say, I don't like change. I like that rule.
About time.
I've always liked that rule.
My other rule was a DH being involved. That's already happened. It had to happen.
It did not have to happen. It did not have to happen.
It's the normal progression of the game.
Did not have to happen.
Let it happen.
You screwed up. I grant you. You had to have your rule because they took the strategy out of the game by making it softball.
My biggest issue that I have with baseball that they're making a change on now, honestly, is this shift, getting rid of the shift.
That's ridiculous.
Listen, if you want to be a Major League Baseball player where you're getting paid millions of dollars, learn how to hit the other way.
Exactly.
You shouldn't be catered to.
You had shifts when Ted Williams was there, and guess what Ted Williams did? He hit over your freaking head.
Correct.
Or he hit it to the other field because he was the best hitter of all time.
Right. Be better.
Be better.
Better.
And that's what I'm saying about the umpires. Be better.
I'm not saying you can't be better. I'm saying if there's a technology out there that can help the umpires, why wouldn't you put that into play? Again, my biggest issue with you right now is that you're all for this in the NFL, but not for this in Major League Baseball.
Because in the NFL, you've got everybody going against the goal line at one time, so you can't see really if somebody has crossed the goal line or not.
It's making it easier on the ref or umpire.
Nope.
That's what it's doing.
The umpires in football are bad.
We're going to agree to disagree. The fans are going to agree that I'm right.
Please put in the comments that I'm right and he's an idiot, and that will.
Or the other way around, and while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. We have had a fun show today. It is time for the most terrifying point of my week. It is the Old Man Minute.
I think we just had that.
I think we just did.
I sent this to you earlier today.
Yes.
Washington University baseball game. Guy jacks one. He's running around the bases. He gets around second base, going towards third. He wipes his jersey as kind of a salute to his team or whatever. That Washington University did this. They threw him out of the game. How freaking stupid can you be? Let's just make sure that there's no fun in any sport anymore. Let's just try to penalize a kid. And by the way, it was a close game and it was going into extra innings perhaps, and you take out one of the better players. Officials need to keep their ass out of the game and let the people decide it on the field. It was my problem with the Super Bowl. But in this case, this kid did something great. He is, by definition, a college kid.
Right.
And you throw him out of the game? How freaking stupid are you, officials?
It's almost like not bringing in a technology that can help the umpires. It's just dumb.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
I agree with you. That was dumb. I saw it. The kid did nothing wrong.
He did nothing
Shouldn't have
wrong.
been ejected out of the game.
He did nothing wrong. I like home run celebration. Everybody who's the guy that flipped the bat?
Batista.
Okay, So Batista, they got all over him. Reggie Jackson was doing that move in the 1970s, and everybody loved it.
Ken Griffey Jr. watched the ball go out of the park every single time while leaning on his bat.
And he did it because he loved watching the ball fly. He was a kid.
Right.
God, help me.
I can help you. I can help umpires by adding a little.
That's not going to help. I can help umpires too by moving them behind the.
We have had an amazing show. Thank you, as always, so much for watching. Thank you for allowing us to have 100 videos. Thank you for 5,000 subscribers. We're going to bring more videos to you. We couldn't do this without everybody watching. This has been Sports Talk with Dad, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.